Neza's birth was anything but ordinary. He came into the world as just a floating head. No body, no limbs, just a head, with piercing bronze eyes that suddenly snapped open. A shock of red hair sprouted from his scalp, and a crimson mark glowed on his forehead. Before anyone could react, he flashed a wicked grin, and leaped out of the midwife's arms. He rolled across the ground like a fiery cannonball. Flames bursting around him. Men, women, and children were sent flying in every direction, screaming in panic. This was no ordinary child. This was Neza, the infamous demon boy of Chintang Pass. A walking disaster with a taste for chaos. His master, trying to control the situation, grabbed him by his red hair. "Got you now," he shouted, but Neza wasn't having it. He sank his teeth into his master's hand, forcing him to let go. As he was flung away, Neza's rage ignited. His entire body erupted in flames, and right before everyone's eyes, a child's body formed beneath his head. His hair turned jet black, and with a defiant smirk, he shot up into the sky. His eyes lit up white because of the power, and his evil grin got even wider. Neza grinned as the fireball in his palm shot out, instantly setting the rooftop on fire. Amused by the chaos, he unleashed more fireballs from both hands. Flames exploded across the courtyard, swallowing everything in their path. Villagers screamed and ran for their lives, as towering trees and houses burned to the ground, crumbling into ash. His master acted fast, hurling the universe ring. In a flash, the ring split apart, forming a golden wire cage that trapped Neza. No matter how hard he slammed against it, there was no way out. The cage shrank, turning into a collar around his neck, locking down the demonic energy inside him. Seizing the moment, his master charged forward, ready to take down the chaos-causing demon kid, once and for all. But before he could strike, Neza's mother jumped in front of her son, wrapping her arms around him. "Don't hurt my kid, please," she shouted, tears streaming down her face. Chintang Pass had been a fortress against demons for generations. To its people, demons were the enemy. Plain and simple, there was no room for someone like Neza. Even so, Neza's father stepped up. "Neza's a victim too," he said firmly. "I won't kill my own son." Neza was actually the reincarnation of a demon child. Long ago, after absorbing the world's spiritual energy for thousands of years, the heavens created a powerful artifact, the Chaos Pearl. This pearl had the power to destroy both heaven and earth. But it wasn't inherently good or evil, as it had absorbed both pure and corrupt energies. Neza's master and Shengongbao were sent to subdue the Chaos Pearl, but they were completely overpowered. Luckily, their master, the primordial Lord of Heaven, stepped in. Using the celestial cauldron, he refined the Chaos Pearl, splitting it into two separate entities, the Spirit Pearl and the Demon Orb. The Spirit Pearl was infused with righteousness and destined to protect the human world, while the Demon Orb was tainted with evil energy and destined to bring destruction. To prevent disaster, the primordial Lord placed a heavenly tribulation curse on it. 3 years after its reincarnation, divine lightning would strike to destroy it. He then sealed them inside a multicolored lotus, because Neza's father had earned great merit as the guardian of Chintang Pass. The Spirit Pearl was allowed to be reborn as his third son. The primordial Lord entrusted Neza's master with this sacred mission, promising that if he succeeded, he would be promoted to one of the 12 golden immortals of Kunlun. However, Shengongbao was deeply jealous. He had always been denied the chance to become a golden immortal, simply because he was a leopard demon. Resentment festered in his heart, and soon, a sinister plan began to form. On the day Neza's mother was about to give birth, his master was ready to unlock the sacred lotus and infuse the Spirit Pearl into the newborn. But at the last second, he froze. He'd completely blanked on the password. Luckily, there was a backup plan. The lotus could still be unlocked with fingerprint recognition. Just as he reached for the Spirit Pearl, the family's steward burst in, shouting, "The tavern's grand opening is today. Everything's half off." Being a total sucker for a good drink, Neza's master got distracted and bolted straight for the tavern. Seeing his chance, the steward tried to swipe the Spirit Pearl, but Neza's dad caught him in the act. To his shock, he also found a puppet talisman stuck to the steward's back. It was all Shengongbao's doing. He'd set up an elaborate scheme to steal the Spirit Pearl, but while everyone was dealing with the steward, the midwife saw her opportunity. Under the control of another puppet talisman, she grabbed both the Spirit Pearl and the Demon Orb. In the chaos that followed, the Demon Orb was tossed onto a stone plate. Neza's dad reacted fast, smashing it with one punch, but he was a split second too late. Before anyone could stop it, the Demon Orb had already slipped into Neza's mother's womb. And just like that, the demon child Neza was born. Neza was ferocious. Even his own mother was not spared from his bites. Now, Facing the fury of the townspeople, his father stepped forward and made a solemn vow. "I will never let Neza take a single step outside this house." His master let out a weary sigh and revealed the harsh truth. Even if Neza were spared, he would not live past 3 years. The heavenly tribulation curse would eventually summon divine lightning to claim his life. Determined to save his son, Neza's father immediately followed his master to seek an audience with the primordial Lord of Heaven, pleading for the curse to be lifted. But the gatekeeper, Chang Shengyun, informed them that the great deity was in seclusion, and worse still, the heavenly tribulation curse had no cure. Neza's father collapsed to his knees, overcome with despair. His master, however, remained calm. "One day in the heavens is a year on earth. If Neza has only 3 years, then let us make them count. We should stay by his side and watch him grow." Meanwhile, in the East Sea, Shen Gongbao had secretly stolen the Spirit Pearl and taken it to the Dragon Palace of the Eastern Sea. The Dragon Clan, being of demonic lineage, had long been suppressed and sealed beneath the ocean. The Dragon King saw this as an opportunity. If his son, Aobing, could absorb the Spirit Pearl's power and gain unparalleled divine strength, then perhaps, one day, he could ascend to godhood and rewrite the fate of the dragon race. And so, the Dragon King commanded Shen Gongbao to ensure the Spirit Pearl never returned to its rightful owner. Neza's martial uncle stutters badly. Shen Gongbao, on the other hand, spoke with a booming voice. He started to say, "It won't work, won't work." The others echoed, confused. Then, suddenly shifting his tone, he declared, "It will either work or end in sacrifice." But Shen Gongbao had his own hidden agenda. He wanted to train Aobing into a powerful being, proving that he, not Neza's master, was the most deserving of a place among the 12 golden immortals. Watching him struggle to get his words out, the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea sighed and advised, "Next time, just nod." Without further delay, he infused the Spirit Pearl into Aobing's body. Back in Chintang Pass, by the time Neza's father returned, Neza was already a year old. The Li household was in utter ruins, looking as if it had been raided by bandits. Neza lay bored atop a crumbling wall, his expression blank. Around him, barrier beasts had woven an impenetrable magic ward, keeping him trapped inside. He had tried countless times to escape, but to no avail. His mother approached, looking at him with concern. "Neza, what are you doing?" Neza, ever the quick-witted troublemaker, replied to his mother with a deadpan expression. "What else can I do on a wall besides enjoy the scenery? Watch people streaking." His mother chuckled. Knowing how bored and frustrated he must have felt, she decided to cheer him up. "How about a game of shuttlecock?" Neza's eyes lit up instantly, his boredom vanishing in a flash. A nearby soldier, however, hesitated. He turned to Neza's mother and cautiously suggested, "Perhaps, it's best if you put on some armor first." She waved dismissively. "It's just a game of shuttlecock. What's the worst that could happen? Someone dies." 1 second later, with a perfectly executed bicycle kick, Neza sent the shuttlecock and his mother soaring through the air like a shooting arrow. She crashed straight into the wall, embedding herself so deep that she couldn't be pried out. Maybe she should have worn that armor after all. Neza, seeing her predicament, hesitated. "Mother, maybe we should stop." But instead of giving up, his mother wiped the sweat from her brow and grinned. "Nonsense. Son, let's keep playing." And so, the game continued. The courtyard walls soon became riddled with cracks and web-like imprints, marking every spot where she had been smashed into the stone. She was drenched in sweat, exhausted and bruised, but when she saw Neza's genuine laughter, his first in a long time, she decided that a little pain was worth it. Just then, a servant rushed in. "Madam, a demon has appeared," duty called. Neza's mother had no choice but to leave. As she turned to go, Neza brushed her hand away and silently leaped back onto the wall. He had long grown used to this kind of neglect, and yet, as his mother disappeared into the distance, he couldn't help but glance back. Alone once more, Neza clenched his fists. He wanted nothing more than to escape this prison of barriers. Neza cracked open a small gap in the barrier and threw a pebble at one of the guardian beasts, mistaking it for an attack from its companion. The beast immediately started fighting back. As chaos ensued, Neza seized the opportunity to slip through the barrier and enter the nearby town. The townspeople panicked and fled in all directions. Some hid inside coffins, some lay on the ground pretending to be dead, and others dove into the water. But Neza found them all. One particularly effeminate man, hearing the silence outside, cautiously stepped out, only to lock eyes with Neza. Without hesitation, he smacked himself in the face with a brick. Better to take the hit himself than let Neza do it. Yet, not everyone was afraid of Neza. A gang of mischievous kids forms a demon-slaying squad, determined to take him down. That was when Piglet came up with a plan. "We can use traps," he suggested. He had secretly weakened the wooden planks on the suspension bridge. The moment Neza stepped on it, the planks will break, sending him tumbling down, triggering a second trap. Overhead, a basket full of swords and weapons will overturn, raining down upon him. Neza fell into the trap. He quickly grabbed an iron wok to shield himself from the falling weapons, but the wok itself was also part of the mechanism. A massive boulder was released, rolling straight toward him. Spotting a gap in the wall, Neza instinctively dodged inside, only to be launched into the air by a hidden wooden plank. He crashed into a tree, where a venomous snake awaited. Naturally, he scrambled toward a rope ladder nearby, but the rope was tied to a hornet's nest. As the furious hornets swarmed toward him, Neza had no choice but to leap into a muddy pit. By the time he climbed out, he was guaranteed to be scared out of his wits. The leader of the demon-slaying squad was confident in their plan. Just to be sure, he even added some urine to the mix. Piglet suddenly hesitated. "Boss, isn't this a bit too much?" "Nonsense," the leader declared. "I'm delivering justice for the people." However, the others raised a pressing question. How do we actually get Neza onto the suspension bridge? Piglet grinned. "That's easy. We just have to scare him onto it." Piglet removed his mask, and Neza appeared before them, causing everyone to jump in shock. In a panic, they dashed onto the suspension bridge, triggering every single trap they had set. Neza was overjoyed, but then he heard someone viciously shout, "Die, you monster." Instantly, Neza's fury ignited. He kicked a massive boulder into the air. Thankfully, Neza's master intervened just in time, saving the demon-slaying squad. The boulder crashed into the distant mountain, smashing it in half. Neza's father, furious, dragged him back and locked him up again. Faced with Neza's rebellious nature, he didn't know how to discipline him. Neza's mother suggested that, since he only had 2 years left to live, they should retire and travel with him to enjoy the beauty of the mountains. But Neza's father refused. He didn't want his son to become a failure. Neza's master proposed taking him as an apprentice, helping him refine his character and abandon his demonic habits. Just as Neza was about to attempt another escape, something caught his eye, a treasure. Neza's eyes fell upon a map of the nation and territories, and his curiosity drove him to touch it. In an instant, a powerful force pulled him into the map. He found himself in a world full of lush green grass, flowing streams, and a glowing celestial palace, all floating on a giant lotus leaf, like he had entered a paradise. Neza's master pulled out a brush of destiny, and with a sweeping motion, turned a peach tree into a floating peach boat. In this magical world, anything could be altered at will. He turned the clouds in the sky into water, and took Neza soaring beyond the 9 skies. They skid on summer slopes and even rode a waterspout roller coaster. Neza felt as if he'd stepped into a whole new world. Seizing the moment, Neza's master suggested he formally become his disciple, and learn the arts of Kunlun. But Neza, unimpressed, casually pulled down his pants and urinated on a rock, dismissing his master's skills as nothing special. In response, Neza's master revealed his ultimate secret technique. He turned the rock into a pair of giant scissors, nearly causing Neza to become a girl. Finally, Neza's interest was piqued. Neza began training in the advanced illusion spell, a technique that Neza's master himself took half a year to learn. The master believes Neza will need at least a year to master it. Confident that his disciple had plenty of time, the master went to sleep. However, Neza's mother came to visit him, only to find Neza drowning. Neza's master is horrified and rushes to perform CPR. As he presses on Neza's chest, Neza's stomach inflates like a balloon. Then, with a loud pop, Neza transforms into a frog. But that's not all. Neza's master is struck by a poison and turns into a 500-pound fat man, his body covered in red spots. Neza's mother witnesses this and, forgetting her usual composure, bursts into laughter. In an instant, Neza's appearance shifts into his master's form. The master is stunned. Neza has mastered the illusion spell in just 2 hours, and even gone a step further, learning the transformation technique. Truly, Neza is a genius among geniuses. In an unexpected turn of events, Neza accidentally triggers the fire-spitting weapon, the fire-tip spear, which sends flames directly to his master's trousers, effectively roasting his master's sensitive area. His master, in excruciating pain, rolls on the ground. Hearing the screams, Neza's parents rush in just in time to save him. Neza's master, seeing Neza's mischievous ways, demands that Neza immediately swear to become his disciple. However, Neza scoffs, declaring that his master is no better than he is, and that he won't bow to him. In a last-ditch effort, Neza's mother reveals a shocking truth. Neza is the reincarnation of the Spirit Pearl, destined to save the world. To fulfill this mission, Neza must learn magic to slay demons and gain the respect of others. Neza, who has long been disliked by the people, is deeply moved by this revelation. Finally, he agrees to become his master's disciple. 2 years pass, and Neza has mastered all the magical arts. Neza possesses two powerful treasures, the magic silk and the fire-tipped spear. However, his fiery temper causes problems. Every time he practices demon slaying, he ends up destroying the entire town. Frustrated, Neza's father believes Neza isn't ready for real combat, and orders his master to take away his weapons, commanding him to meditate in peace and focus on self-restoration. Unwilling to accept this, Neza steals the brush of destiny and runs away. He soon encounters a sea monster and a night demon blocking his path. Neza shouts, "Monster, let go of that dog." The sea monster looks down and sees a child who isn't even as tall as its legs. Thinking it can easily defeat Neza, it prepares to devour him. But in the next moment, Neza uses his iron head skill to knock the sea monster down. With a swift kick, he destroys a nearby house. The night demon, now terrified, transforms into a puddle of seawater, slipping into the house and moving freely inside. Neza, unstoppable, crashes through building after building, while the night demon hides in a water jar. There are over 100 jars, all looking the same on the surface. As the townspeople hear the sounds of battle, they rush to see what's happening, but are frightened away when Neza turns and reveals himself. Neza, too clever for the night demon's tricks, unleashes his fire control magic, heating all the water jars to a boiling 212 degrees Fahrenheit. However, the townspeople misunderstand, believing Neza has lost control again. In fear, they scatter and flee. At that moment, the night demon emerges. Neza, still engulfed in flames, gives chase, causing even more destruction as buildings explode in his wake. The night demon, desperate to escape, grabs a little girl as a hostage. The leader of the demon-slaying squad, witnessing the scene but missing the full picture, instinctively assumes that Neza is responsible. The night demon flees toward the ocean, leaping 5 meters into the air. If it can just reach the sea, it will be untouchable. But just as it's about to dive into the water, the surface of the sea suddenly freezes solid. The night demon crashes down hard, landing flat on its backside. A figure in a white cloak appears behind it. Aobing, the third prince of the East Sea Dragon King. In a flash, he rescues the little girl from the demon's grasp. Furious, Neza hurls a massive ice block at Aobing, snatches the little girl away, and shouts, "I saw this monster first. Get in line and wait your turn." Then, to everyone's shock, he tosses the girl right back into the night demon's arms. The night demon is completely dumbfounded. Why is she back with me? Without missing a beat, Neza kicks Aobing away and declares, "No one can be more handsome than me." Then, as if nothing had happened, he spins around and yells at the night demon, "Monster, let go of that girl." The night demon is utterly confused. "But, didn't you just give her to me?" Before Neza can make his move, Aobing returns, engaging him in battle. In a wild move, Neza bites down on Aobing's fist and refuses to let go. Seizing the moment, he yanks off Aobing's cloak, revealing a pair of dragon horns on Aobing's head. Aobing, now embarrassed and enraged, decides it's time to get serious. Suddenly, bubbles begin appearing all around them. Neza curiously reaches out to touch one of the floating bubbles, only for his hand to instantly turn to stone. These are no ordinary bubbles. They're poisonous saliva bubbles spat out by the night demon. Within moments, the battlefield is surrounded by them. Taking advantage of the chaos, the night demon swallows the little girl in one gulp and struts around triumphantly. Aobing, not hesitating for a second, rushes in and lands a powerful punch on the demon. The little girl is immediately spat back out, covered in sticky saliva, but the moment the toxic spit touches Aobing, his body begins to turn to stone as well. The night demon then lifts a massive ice block, preparing to crush the petrified Aobing. At the critical moment, Neza swings his stone arm, smashing away the surrounding poison bubbles, but the night demon immediately spits out another wave of bubbles, creating a new trap. Thinking fast, Neza grabs the petrified Aobing and spins him, using him to swat away the toxic bubbles. Then, in a flash of inspiration, he wields Aobing like a weapon, smashing the night demon over and over. Finally, beaten and bruised, the night demon admits defeat. Neza asks the night demon for the antidote. The antidote turned out to be the night demon's snot. Totally grossed out, Neza choked it down, almost puking up his last meal, but, to his relief, his arm instantly went back to normal. Meanwhile, Aobing was still frozen solid and obviously couldn't take the antidote himself. The night demon, looking kinda awkward, explained, "The antidote works both ways, inside or out." Neza was so mad he almost decked the demon again. Holding back his rage, he smeared the snot all over Aobing and the little girl. In no time, both of them were back to normal. After all the chaos, Aobing now owed Neza his life, and the two ended up becoming unlikely friends. Just when things seemed to calm down, the leader of the demon-slaying squad showed up with a bunch of people, pointing at Neza and yelling, "He kidnapped my sister. He's a total monster." That was the last straw for Neza. Bam. He didn't hold back and beat the whole group to a pulp. Before things could get even worse, Neza's master and parents showed up just in time. Neza was framed. An old man claimed that Neza had burned down a village and kidnapped children, demanding that he be punished. Neza was furious and ready to fight, but his master quickly stopped him with the Hun Tian Ling and locked him up at the Li residence. Ao Bing knew nothing about this. Happily, he told his father and Shen Gongbao that he had made a friend named Neza. Shen Gongbao was shocked and told him that Neza was the demon pill. Since childhood, Ao Bing had been taught that in order to free the dragon clan from their underwater purgatory, he must reveal himself when the demon pill faced the heavenly tribulation of thunder. By saving the people of Chintang Pass, he would become a savior and earn a place among the gods. The hopes of the entire dragon clan rested on him. Ao Bing was torn. Neza was the only one who didn't see him as a monster. Meanwhile, Neza was locked up at home. His mother, wanting to cheer him up, told him that in a few days, they would celebrate his 3rd birthday, inviting all the people of Chintang Pass to the banquet. Neza's father suddenly said, "I know you are not the culprit. It was the Yiksha who kidnapped the girl." It turned out that he had found traces of Yiksha's saliva on Neza's hand. With his father's recognition, Neza finally looked forward to his birthday. Neza's father decided to clear his son's name on the day of the celebration. Neza invited his good friend Ao Bing to his birthday party. He blew a conch shell by the seaside to summon Ao Bing and handed him an invitation, hoping he'd come to celebrate. Ao Bing looked at the drawing on the invitation, 2 little figures playing shuttlecock, and felt even more conflicted. He didn't want to hurt Neza, but he also didn't want to disappoint his father. On Neza's birthday, Ao Bing's father and the other members of the dragon clan used their toughest dragon scales to forge the indestructible 10,000 dragon armor for him. In the end, Ao Bing had no choice but to betray Neza. Meanwhile, the people of Chintang Pass arrived at the Li residence to celebrate Neza's birthday. However, their faces were full of sorrow, as if they were at a funeral, unaware that everyone had been forced to come. Neza draped a cape over his shoulders and admired his heroic reflection in the mirror. Just then, Shen Gongbao arrived and revealed his identity. "I'm your martial uncle." He then exposed the truth, that Neza was the demon pill. Neza was furious. Neza's master gifted him a mount called Flying Little Pig. When Neza touched its nose, the mount instantly transformed into 2 windfire wheels. It turned out that the mount could change its form based on its owner's nature. For his master, it had remained a pig. Neza's father gave him a simple gift, a protective talisman, and told him, "From now on, don't care about what others think. Only you can decide who you are." He also revealed that the Yiksha was imprisoned in the cellar, and his next step was to clear Neza's name. However, Neza sneered. He accused his parents of lying to him about being the spirit pearl, and forcing him to train inside the mountains and rivers painting. They did this not to protect him, but to keep him locked away and preserve their own reputation. Sun and moon unite. 1,000 spirits return. Boundless heaven and earth. Universe ring. By the command of the law, blazing flames erupted into the sky as Neza tore off the universe ring, fully unleashing his demonic nature. In that instant, he transformed into a demonic youth. Shen Gongbao secretly took the universe ring, cutting off Neza's chance to return to normal. Neza began rampaging, striking down everything in his path. The terrified townspeople screamed and fled in all directions. His master tried to restrain him with his whisk, but it wasn't enough. Neza thrust his fire-tipped spear at his father. His father dropped to one knee, smashing the ground beneath him, gripping the spear tightly with both hands. Yet, he refused to fight back against his own son, but he was on the verge of collapse. From afar, Ao Bing witnessed everything. Shen Gongbao told him, "Once Neza kills his master and parents, you will step in and stall him until the heavenly tribulation descends. Then, you will seize the moment to slay him. The people will hail you as their savior." But Ao Bing hesitated. He didn't believe Neza was truly evil. The prejudice in people's hearts is a great mountain. No matter how hard you try, you will never move it. It turned out that Shen Gongbao had a tragic past as well. Among the disciples of heaven, he was the most diligent in cultivation, but because he was a leopard demon, the only non-human in his sect, he was never given the chance to ascend to godhood. Since Neza's fate could not be changed, Ao Bing resolved to save Neza's parents, to repay Neza for once saving his life. Shen Gongbao sighed. "Don't say I didn't warn you. If your identity as a demon is exposed, everyone will turn against you." Then, in a blink, Ao Bing vanished. At that moment, Neza activated the fire-tipped spear's mechanism. His master quickly dragged his father away, but an explosion of scorching flames erupted. Neza severed the whisk and commanded the Hun Tian Ling to wield the fire-tipped spear against his master. Then, he bound his father, preparing to strike a fatal blow. His mother immediately stepped in and pleaded, "Son, he is your father." But Neza had already lost himself to rage. Even if the heavenly king himself descended, no one could stop him now. Neza's fury was terrifying. The fire-tipped spear pierced the night in an instant, racing toward Neza's father. Suddenly, with a loud bang, a burst of red and blue flames erupted. Aobing, cloaked in a cape, rushed to rescue Neza's father, and the shattered heavenly silk was restored to its original state. Neza's strength was provoked, and he immediately engaged in a fierce battle with Aobing. Aobing unleashed his ice-binding technique, but Neza broke through it in a second. Aobing then used the dragon spiral ice hammer to cast the ice-binding technique again, trapping Neza once more. He handed the universe ring to Neza's master, suppressing Neza's demonic nature. However, after Neza regained his senses and saw the faces of the common people, he remembered what they had done to him. Angrily, he took the universe ring and stormed out of Lee's mansion. At this moment, Aobing was about to retire, but Neza's father suddenly stopped him, removing his cape. It turned out that he had recognized Aobing's aura, which felt very familiar. Neza's good friend's dragon horn was discovered. The dragon clan belonged to the demon tribe, and everyone immediately became fearful. Neza's master noticed the dragon pearl mark on his forehead, and instinctively realized that it was the dragon clan that had stolen the spirit pearl. Aobing's heart raced, and he quickly decided to flee. But Neza's master shouted from behind, "I will report to the heavenly court and expose the crimes of the dragon clan." Aobing froze, and then he heard the common people say, "A demon is still a demon. A dog can't change its nature." At that moment, he suddenly recalled what Shingongbao had once told him. The prejudice in people's hearts is a great mountain, and no matter how hard you try, you will never move it. Aobing was instantly consumed by rage, and he stirred up a tremendous wave, freezing it. It became like a heavenly cover, pressing down heavily on Chintang Pass. He wanted to bury Chintang Pass alive. However, Aobing was wearing the armor of 10,000 dragons, and no matter how much Neza's father attacked, he could not harm him in the slightest. As Neza was venting his anger, he saw the wind fire wheels transform into a flying pig. The pig pulled up a blade of grass to scratch its nose. After a loud sneeze, Neza suddenly saw an image before him. He saw his father ascend to the heavenly court, to seek a way to lift the heavenly tribulation curse on Neza. Changqingyun explained that although the curse couldn't be lifted, it could be transferred. He drew 2 life exchange talismans, one to be placed on a blood relative and the other on Neza. When the time came, the heavenly tribulation would instead fall on Neza's father. Changqingyun, however, was curious and asked, "What exactly is Neza to you?" "He's my son." Those 4 words made Neza's heart soften completely. He saw immense love in his father's actions, which highlighted his own rebellious behavior. He felt unworthy of his father's protection. So, he returned to Lee's mansion, ready to battle Aobing once more in order to protect the people. Neza's friend, Aobing, was also incredibly powerful. He unleashed a mighty water column, while Neza spun the fire-tipped spear to block it, creating a large cloud of steam. However, much of Neza's power was restrained by the universe ring, and he couldn't match Aobing's strength. In a flash, Neza darted into the steam, prompting Aobing to unleash his ultimate attack, but it hit Shingongbao instead. Shingongbao shouted, "Rebellious disciple, stop!" Aobing immediately held back. Then, Shingongbao suddenly cried out, "Neza!" Aobing turned around in shock, only to see Neza, now disguised as Shingongbao, sneakily poking him with the fire-tipped spear. However, it didn't pierce him. Aobing, filled with rage, chased after Neza, who had again disappeared into the steam. The next moment, the 2 Shingongbaos collided. Quick-witted, Neza swiftly swapped weapons between himself and the other. Aobing charged forward, only to see his master holding the fire-tipped spear and attacking. Shingongbao declared, "Rebellious disciple, I am your master." Aobing, having been tricked once, didn't believe it. Neza, enjoying the chaos, helped Aobing knock down Shingongbao. However, the next second, Aobing was poked again. His frustration growing, Neza smirked and said, "This is your reward." As Neza turned around, he encountered his master. When the master saw Neza wearing Shingongbao's skin, he immediately unleashed the map of mountains and rivers, trapping Neza inside. Just as Neza's master was feeling pleased, the real Shingongbao appeared, with Aobing close behind. Neza's master had no time to think and quickly trapped Aobing as well. Shingongbao rushed to save his beloved disciple. In that split second, he used the Thunder Whip to pull Neza's master into the map as well. At this moment, the only way to escape was to obtain the Guiding the Country Pan. The 4 of them immediately began fighting over it. Shingongbao used the Thunder Whip to bind Neza's master, while Neza's master used his whisk to trap Aobing. Ao Bing used his ice binding technique to freeze Neza, but Neza countered by using the heavenly silk to bind Shengongbao. The four of them became entangled, forming an ice ball, with the guiding the country pen lying just in front of them. Shengongbao blew air to push the ice ball forward, commanding Ao Bing to retrieve the pen. Just in time, Neza's master let out a loud fart, prompting Neza to grab the pen. Shengongbao, unwilling to be outdone, took a deep breath, but ended up inhaling a big puff of Neza's master's foul fart, which caused him to faint instantly. Neza quickly used his foot to grab the pen, and with a swift motion, the ground cracked open. The ice ball fell into the crack, and Neza, startled, waved the pen wildly, causing a flood disaster. Neza's parents, watching them bounce around on the map like marbles, finally broke free and fell to the ground, causing the map to disintegrate. Ao Bing, no longer showing mercy, turned his attention to Neza's parents. Neza immediately rushed to save them but was severely injured by Ao Bing's attack. Ao Bing then transformed into a demonic dragon, unleashing immense power to strike the ice cover. Countless ice shards rained down, causing the people to flee in fear. The ice cover was on the verge of engulfing Chintang Pass. At this moment, Neza finally realized what responsibility and heroism truly meant. He recited the transformation incantation. Sun and moon together, thousands of spirits return to their source. The heavens are boundless, the universe ring. Quickly, as the law commands, Neza transformed into a heroic young man. Soaring into the sky, with his own strength, he slowly lifted the ice cover. Ao Bing immediately increased the pressure, and the ice cover quickly crushed the houses. He told Neza, "Stop struggling, you were born as a demon core. This is your fate." Neza gritted his teeth and struggled to hold on, but still remained defiant. Refusing to give up, he shouted, "My life is mine to control, not the heavens. Whether I am a demon or an immortal, I will decide." In the next moment, Neza sprouted 4 extra arms, making a total of 6 hands to quickly push the ice cover up. Fiery flames erupted, wrapping the ice cover from bottom to top like a lotus flower. Within the steam, Ao Bing was tightly bound by the heavenly silk, and the fire-tipped spear struck swiftly, but it stopped just before Ao Bing's eyes. Though Neza was a demon core, he understood far better than those who spoke of righteousness and morality, what true friendship, family, and love meant. Most importantly, Ao Bing was his only friend. Neza said to Ao Bing, "Go, you should leave." Neza was about to let Ao Bing go, and Ao Bing was taken aback, asking, "Aren't you afraid I'll come back for revenge?" Neza, instantly angered, retorted, "What nonsense, fate, you are the one who decides who you are." At that moment, the thunder struck. Neza tied up his parents and tore apart the protective talismans. "My life is mine to bear," he said. "Even if it's my parents, they can't make decisions for me." His only regret was that he had never played shuttlecock with his father. Neza added, "Mom, Dad, thank you for knowing I am a demon core but still giving me all your love." A bolt of lightning struck him with full force, and Neza felt as if his body would explode. When he turned his head, he saw Ao Bing had come to his side. Ao Bing immediately activated the armor of 10,000 dragons, protecting Neza from the heavenly tribulation. Neza had awakened him with his words. He realized that seeking revenge endlessly was futile. Only by fighting with all his might could he break free from the grip of fate. As Neza and Ao Bing were struck by the lightning, the armor of 10,000 dragons couldn't withstand the force of the thunder. The two of them could only hold hands, channeling the power of the primordial pearl to absorb all the lightning into their bodies. However, the energy of the heavenly tribulation was overwhelming, and they were on the brink of an explosion. The heavenly tribulation then transformed into a face, its energy even stronger than before. The demon core and the spirit pearl concentrated the energy inside their bodies, forming a lightning ball to return the attack, but it was still devoured. Neza's master immediately rushed and holding the 7-colored lotus and, in the instant of the explosion, managed to pull the two of them into the lotus. The electric light faded, and the ground was left with a massive crater. Using all of his cultivation and the energy of the lotus, Neza's master managed to preserve the souls of Neza and Ao Bing. As long as their bodies were remade, they could be resurrected. At that moment, all the people of Chintang Pass gathered around, kneeling in worship. Neza was a great hero. This film is called Nezha. I highly recommend watching the original. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe.